Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. This week I have a question which I'm titling Dead or Alive. And I would like to talk about live albums. What do you think of live albums? Do you have a favorite live album? What is your worst live album? What's your opinion was the worst live album? So to start off is I'm not really a huge fan of live albums. Often they're a band or a record company's ploy to buy time or make a quick buck for a band that's still working on new material or out of ideas. And I don't have a worst or a favorite live album pick. I tend not to listen to live LPs because I actually love the recording process in the studio. And with all its ability to trick and fix things and make things just right for the final recording of the song, which is going to be released to the public. So, I'm really into the recording process. So a live album, to me, a live show is just like, it's an ephemeral kind of like, it happens and it's gone. I don't want a record of it really. So that being said, I have a couple of other comments, which are two live albums that possibly made the bands that released them are Kiss's Alive. And it's not actually very alive.
We'll talk about that.
It was re-recorded and overdubbed in the studio to fix sound issues and notes. It made them famous and has reportedly, according to my research, outsold many of their other studio LPs. And of course, I would be remiss not mentioning a album called Frampton Comes Alive by Peter Frampton. This album was pretty much the thing that made his career. It came out and everybody started playing it. In fact, I just heard it last weekend while I was shopping in a grocery store. They were playing it over the PA system. So speaking of overdub fixes, this is probably more common than a lot of you might realize. Thin Lizzy's Live and Dangerous is believed to be about half to three quarters of recorded in the studio. Led Zeppelin's album and the film, The Song Remains the Same, are both overdubbed. Bootleg copies of the shows at Madison Square Garden where they were reportedly filmed. Rodney's pulling up. Oh no, he's crying.
You shattered my illusions of integrity.
Bootleg copies of the show reveal that Jimmy Page inserted vocal parts from different shows whenever Robert Plant or he had an off moment. And also something I didn't know until my research was they actually reshot some of the close-ups in a soundstage in England after the movie was shot, in Madison Square Garden. So the close-ups, they could pretend that they were there just so they could get it just right. Other notable live albums out there, The Who Live at Leeds, which featured several songs that were not released on any studio recordings, and their cover of, which includes also their cover of Summertime Blues, and also the deluxe version of that album, live album, contains their rock opera Tommy in its entirety. I also did not know that Genesis has released 6 live albums in their career. I can't believe that. 6 live albums. That's crazy. Peter Gabriel has released 5 live albums. Depeche Mode has released 3 live albums. And of course, Frank Zappa released many live albums with many extensive overdubs. So, is it live or is it Memorex? I don't know. As far as live albums with the Dead Milkmen, our own album, Chaos Rules, live at the Trocadero, that's an LP that I probably haven't listened to since we prepared for its release in 1994.
Don't think of it as an LP. Think of it as a contractual obligation.
Right. Trouser Press called our album a slapdash greatest hits concert record, rating that most of the renditions are surprisingly worse than the originals.
Not surprised though.
As for a topic for another day and maybe another big questions, I won't get into bootlegs or official bootlegs. And if you're a Grateful Dead taper collector, why are you even watching this show?
Maybe they're having an acid flashback and they just saw Dead in the title.
Yeah. So
Robert Plant never hit a wrong note ever. Yeah. You mean man, you meanie. I think I just knocked the camera back, but that's okay. Up. Am I up?
Yes, you're up. I'm done.
Bernard. Jean and the kids at the school tell me I should learn to control my violent temper. And I try. But when I see that you have not mentioned the greatest live recording of all time, I just go berserk. The ice cream shop scene from Billy Jack, everybody. Thank you. And I do occasionally get acting roles. So what is the greatest live recording of all time? This is easy. This would be the bootleg that Rerun was making of the Doobie Brothers on What's Happening. Let's see. Let's test it with our youngest member. See if we. Hey Dan, which Doobie you be?
Rerun.
No, I would say Skunk Baxter, or I pick. He's probably the coolest. Not Michael McDonald. He's the least cool. But so if you remember that, I think that recording, that bootleg, would have been fantastic. By the way, that's the only episode of What's Happening anybody remembers. It's like the episode of Different Strokes that was kind of like To Catch a Predator, where the guy from the bicycle shop didn't understand the title of the show, Different Strokes. But I think the recording would be really good because Rerun has the tape recorder right there. I mean, he's got stuff over it, so that might have affected the sound. And it's kind of a cheap little old-timey Radio Shack one, but he's right in line with the band. I think he would have gotten a pretty good recording. When friends of mine play live, I take this little Zoom recorder with me. I pick the spot where I kind of know it's going to sound the best. I stand there and I either hold it or I mount it on something, and I always get a pretty good recording. And that's the trick. Like Dean said, back in the day, they were a combination of like board recording. So they would put, here's the mic by this amp, and that's going into the board. And then they'd set up some live mics, and they get, the live sound of the audience. And then, as mentioned, people would go in and then they would overdub things like solos and stuff. And it sounded really unnatural. It was like when you first heard a laugh track, or whenever you hear a laugh track, you know how it doesn't sound quite right. You're like, I don't think those people, those audience members are in the same room as the members of the Big Bang Theory. For one, they're laughing, so we know they can't be. And that would make it super unnatural. So they were either ruined by the recording process, or sometimes, in the case of Nick Cave's Live Seeds album, they were ruined by the audience. Now, some of you young people might find this unbelievable, but there was a time when we actually looked forward to a new Nick Cave album. And Live Seeds is a really good album of him playing stuff live, but I can't remember which song it is. And I can't bring myself to listen in case it's the Ship song, which is a song I used to sing to Vienna when we were dating. But I think during one of those songs, he starts to play the piano and somebody goes, whoa, and like just kind of ruins the whole thing. This is probably why you couldn't make a live album today, because audiences talk over the bands. There are a couple clubs in Philly that are notorious for audiences talking over the band. Clan of Zymox were playing here a couple months back in March, and so I asked me when I was going to go. I'm like, no, last time I was in that club for Boy Harsher, the audience were looking at their phones and talking over the band. And my friend was like, no, it won't be like that for this. So she went to it, and I saw on social media, she posted that she went, and I was like, how was it? And she was like, the audience talked over the band. So if you have a mic somewhere, you're probably going to get, for those type of clubs, you're probably going to get all these people like on their phone, talking to each other, not paying a lot of attention to the band. So there was actually a window in which you could make a really good live album. And that window was 2008. In 2008, IMX put out Live in Warsaw. And when I first heard that, I was like, yes, this is how a live album should sound. I think probably at this point, bands had gotten smart enough to use sequencers and backing tracks. So you actually got a feel of decent music and a live performance. It's a really good record. I think we'll probably throw a link to at least one of the songs off of it. Also that year, that's when B&B Nation released Reformation 01. Now, it came with, I'm going to open it up here. And we'll also show you a big thing of it. But Reformation 101 came with, somebody finally figured out how to make a live album. It came with a booklet. You can see the little booklet here. I might have it upside down. Yeah, I got it upside down. Here's the booklet. It came with a booklet. Okay. There's Ronan. It came with a live CD. It came with a remix CD, and it came with a DVD, so you could actually see the concert you were hearing. Also, I believe that there's a lost season of Seinfeld on here somewhere. So I'm really looking. Ooh, but I swear to God, this thing's so heavy, Optimus Prime couldn't fucking lift it. And for those of you who may be used to alt rock or indie rock, I'm going to put up an alternative cover for this to help you get over the shock of the black cover. And I've renamed the album Pookie Lookie Happy Tree. But the thing is that there are, if you're watching the live DVD, what makes it is there are two young ladies in the front row, and when they do Illusion, they're hugging each other, they're singing along, and they're crying. Illusion is the song that when it's played live, everybody cries. But if you look in the audience, there's one guy not crying. And this is pretty much the kid who didn't cry when they shot Bambi's mom. Spoiler alert, Bambi's mom gets shot in Bambi. But if I was in the FBI, I would blow this guy's face up and put it on a poster, like, just be on the lookout for him. He's a future sociopath. So, by the way, I also suggest take the audience from, and we'll have a link up to VMV Live, take the audience from the VMV Live album from the DVD and put them in where other audiences are. Like if you've got like a country western band or something, because this is the greatest audience ever. It really is a good audience, and you just throw them in there. I would Wilco with that audience. I might actually like Wilco. So I suggest that. So in conclusion, I'm just going to say the greatest live album of all time is Lenny and the Squigtones. Thank you.
I happen to like live albums, or at least I used to. Back when I was a kid in grade school, two of my favorite albums were Fifth Dimension Live, ! I mentioned that album before. It has the Ode to Billy Joe on it.
Not Billy Joel, I hope.
Ode to Billy Joe.
Also, the exclamation point show would be phonetically pronounced as
check.
Click language.
Like, and Three Dog Night captured Live at the Forum. I had both of those when I was in grade school, and I listened to them endlessly, pretty much. And that's Three Dog Night's third album. It didn't end their career at all. Because they had a career after. I mean, that was before they even had their Joy to the World big hit. But I guess their biggest hit up to that was the song One. Both of those albums are like covers. They do a lot of covers. And they intersect at this Lyra Nero song, Eli's Coming. They're on both, that song's on both albums. Hide your heart.
Eli's Coming.
So those figured into my formative years of what music I guess I started to like somehow. And when I was a teenager, my introduction to the band Cheap Trick was, and probably for a lot of people, Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. I love that album. I think their version of I Want You to Want Me and Surrender are better live than on their studio versions. I just think that. And I did read that there was some doctoring after the fact. Cheap Trick produced that album themselves, and they admit just a little bit of doctoring of re-recording some of Rick Nielsen's background vocals, only because he moved around on the stage so much so that Mike didn't pick it up properly. But they're very proud of the fact that they left all the most, they left mistakes in. You can tell it's live because they hit wrong chords. I think he says the drummer Bunny loses a stick during Surrender. I can't tell, but maybe a drummer could tell that that happens. And that's their biggest selling album. It went top 10. I think it went to number 4 on Billboard. So, and it made their career, it saved their career in the United States. I also like Ramones, Loco Live. I like Radiohead's I Might Be Wrong live recordings, which is not a concert, but selections of different concerts and only from 2 albums, songs only from 2 albums. Like they didn't play a concert where they only played the 2 most recent albums, but they just made an album of those songs, I guess, to prove that, yeah, the albums Kid A and Amnesia were pretty much constructed in the studio, they said, but they rearranged them for live and they actually sound good, if not better, as live. So there you go. Of those, I guess my favorite would be Overall Time. Oh, I also want to mention Ween painting the town brown. I don't think that's doctored. I'd be surprised if it is, but maybe it is. I don't know. But I guess my favorite would be Cheap Trick live at Budokan. As for bad ones, there's another at Budokan that disappointed me a lot when I first heard it, and that came out almost in the United States almost at the same time as the Cheap Trick one. It was Bob Dylan at Budokan, and that one, I'd also be surprised if there was any doctoring in that one.
There should have been.
There should have been, exactly.
I want to say, to interject here when you mentioned Bob Dylan, that I hadn't been a Bob Dylan fan, but somewhere along the line I heard he released a whole series of bootlegs, right?
Yes, and he's still doing it.
Yeah, and I heard, and then I bought a copy of the I wish I could remember what it was titled.
Was it live in 1966? That's in my notes.
Yeah.
It's called the Royal Albert Hall.
Yes, I have
but
a
it
copy
wasn't
of that.
recorded
And
there.
when I heard that, I was like, wow, this is pretty. You could tell it was pretty electric in the room when he did that. I mean, he was playing electric and the crowd was like, holy shit, what are you doing? This is terrible.
Half of it is electric and half of it is acoustic.
Yeah, but I actually thought that was pretty amazing, actually.
That's
I have a question.
What?
How old was Rerun in 1966 that he could have bootlegged that Bob Dylan concert?
It was a heavily bootlegged concert.
Which Bob Dylan you be?
Didn't he released a whole series of bootlegs, right?
Before they released it.
Live bootlegs, yeah.
Yes, there's a whole series of them. There's another one called Live Set 1973, which is pretty good. But of those, my favorite is Live 1966. But still, I'm going to go with Cheap Trick. And the reason I don't like At Budokan is the song selection is pretty nice, and that gets you excited about it. But the arrangements are weird. They're like fully orchestrated, almost Vegas style arrangements of his songs. But it doesn't mesh well with his vocals and harmonica playing. To me, it sounds
it's kind of a chromatic scale. He might have used an Eastern scale.
But I revisited I just listened to a little bit of it again today, and I didn't think it was quite as bad as my memory said. But there's a ridiculous version of Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, which is reggae. It just doesn't work for me at all. So that's what I think of. I like live albums generally, but there are some clunkers out there too. I don't know. And also, another album I had as a kid was Wings Over America. I had that before I became a Beatles fan, and I liked it, but I disqualified that because I did read that was heavily
doctored in the studio.
Doctored, yeah.
And Madonna's Material Girl is ripped off directly from Cheap Trick's Surrender. Think about it.
Okay.
I don't think I will think about that.
Not that long.
It's my turn, yes. I'm not actually a huge fan of live albums either. I'd much rather see a band live, I think. it just kind of seems like you guys were saying, like just like to make some money, I guess. Like people put out live albums. I do sometimes enjoy them when they mix it up a little bit and like do medleys of songs or like change lyrics around and stuff. Like I actually really did like Chaos Rules when I was 16. Um, but when you listen to something and then you hear little like someone scream something or like talking, like that becomes a part of it when you hear it over and over again. And then even hearing the regular song, sometimes that'll pop in my mind like a little scream from the live version, something. But I do have a favorite live album. I think I've probably talked about it on one of these big questions before, but it's James Brown live at the Apollo Theater in 1962. It's just got so much energy. Like the band is on fire. They're Famous Flames. And for some reason I can just picture things going on. Like the band opens up with this like instrumental number, and then you hear the people like cheering, and then all of a sudden they get louder, and I imagine like that's when James Brown came out on stage and started like dancing and stuff. But like the song Think, it's like twice the speed of on the record. Like there's just, and the band is tight. I don't think there's any doctoring, but I don't know. He does a 10-minute version of the song Lost Someone, and he says some of the craziest stuff in it, and it's just his like ramblings, and like he's like, come on home to me, I don't want you to go to my next door neighbor. I don't know, it's just great. I've listened to it probably hundreds of times. I feel like I know every little like scream. Like this one woman does this like in this like gap of silence for a second. But yeah, and then as far as like the, I guess, worst live album, I would say every single Grateful Dead live. Every one of them. And there's probably like thousands of them. I just can't stand that band.
Also, Dylan and the Dead is also one of my least favorite. That's another live album.
That was an officially released live album, Dylan and the Dead?
Yes, because they toured together and performed together. Sorry.
I get the feeling Rerun was the only black person at that show. I just sensing that. I don't know.
So yeah, that's my take on live albums.
Okay, well, thanks for everybody's answers. Let's go on to recommendations. This week on recommendations, I know I've recommended this YouTube drum channel before. It's the channel is called The Drum Thing, and his latest video is a gem called How to Start Playing the Drums, and he pulls it off within 10 minutes, explaining how to get started with a drum kit and some simple basic advice. I think it was pretty well done, and it helps that he's absolutely crazy and funny while explaining it all. So I suggest you check it out. It's only 10 minutes of your time. And if you ever had any interest in playing drums, I think he's like encapsulated the whole concept within about 10 or 12 minutes. So that's my recommendation.
Hey, I have a very serious recommendation, so I have to get serious. Last week, and this is absolutely serious, last week we talked about outsider musicians. Folks, here's your chance to help a contemporary outsider musician. Sean Payne of the band Cyanotic, which is a band I freaking love. He was in a horrible, horrible traffic accident, and his wife was killed in that accident. Now, there is a GoFundMe out there to raise money to help Sean with his medical bills and expenses. Right now, we're going to put up, and it'll also be in the link, but we're going to put up a little, the URL link to the GoFundMe site. You want to pause it and write it down, or you can hop into the links. But if you can, please go there and donate. I would really appreciate it. You can consider, my birthday is in like 10 days from when we're filming this. You can consider it an early birthday present for me. I would really, really love it if you did that, because like I say, I'm a big Cyanotic fan. If you just don't have a lot of money to donate for that, why not go over to the Cyanotic page and pick up some tunes? I would suggest starting with the album Medication Generation. there's a song on that album called Dose Responsive that you're going to love. Imagine hardcore thrash speeded up, but with also some electronics thrown in and some brilliant samples. It is really, really good, and you will love it. Or you can also go over to the Glitch Mode. That's the record company that Sean was part of, and page, and pick up an album I would recommend, which is called Angry Robot Music. Everybody is on that album, and some of those people are my friends, so you'll really like that. And it's a starter pack, sort of, for good music. I do suggest that you get that. Now, if you buy some music or you donate, or all three, please put in the comments that you did that, and I will make sure to hop into the comments and thank you. Now, if when I mentioned Sean Payne of Cyanotic, and you said, if this guy's an outsider musician, how comes I've never heard of him? You should have to donate and buy music, because that is one of the dumbest damn things you can say. So yes, so please, if you can donate, buy some music, whatever you can do. Thank you.
Okay. I recommend seeds. You can put them in the ground and put them in soil, water them, and hopefully they'll get sunlight and rain, and they grow into plants that you can maybe harvest and eat, like beans or onions or hot peppers.
Spinach or string beans.
Spinach. Oh yeah, string beans. That's various seeds. Even flour. Some flours you can eat.
Bagels.
Bagels, wheat, corn, I don't know. Seeds.
Marijuana? Yeah, seeds. Man, you took my recommendation now. Although I would recommend, now this is well timed, Joe, because this is around the time to start planting things if you'd like them to grow. I would like to recommend reading glasses if you need them. But there's this special type that they like a cell phone blue light or whatever. So, I borrowed my mom's because I couldn't find reading glasses, and then she ended up buying me a pair, which was nice. Oh, and
Stan, you don't have to put on the blue light. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I my internet dropped out. What type are they? Special type?
They have like I don't know. They block like blue glow from like
blue blockers.
Well, not like I don't know. Are they blue blockers? I always picture those as like the yellow ones that like
yellow blockers.
The wrap around. Who was the football player that always kind of wore that wrap around?
Joe Montana?
No, I don't know the guy's name.
But yeah, so I would definitely recommend reading glasses if you're having trouble reading. Because it took me a while to get them, and then I was like, wow, I've needed these. I bet it's been about 3 years now.
So mine are 125s. What are yours, Dan?
Ooh, these are 2.
Ooh.
These are 2 also.
Oh.
And I had a weird reversal where I needed glasses and then didn't need them anymore, which apparently happens. But yeah, I was kind of glad it happened to me.
That happened also to my father.
Maybe you gave it to me, Rodney, and now that's why I need them.
That's true. He was past the town line. Doing on this old celebrating line dance, and then they would touch somebody and then they all right. We're using the contemporary references tonight.
All right, everybody.
Thanks for your put on the blue light.
Thanks for your answers this week, and join us everyone next week. And please remember to like, subscribe, and click the little bell down below.
I don't encourage you to do that.
I do, because it helps us.
I use a much subtler sales approach. And please, if you can do the GoFundMe or buy some music, that would be I would seriously. That would touch my heart.